Trapmore gang, I'm back with another video, and yes, I am wearing the Seattle Mariners hat. It is another video about the rolling 60s, okay? For all these hat haters, I've heard all the nonsense about what hats I'm allowed to wear. Apparently it's trolling. What? Oh, you can't wear this hat, you can't wear that. I'll wear whatever hat I want. I went to the lid store and I bought this hat. This is no disrespect, but it just so happens, all right? I'm talking about people that are known for wearing this hat. I'm going to wear this hat. I could wear any hat I want to. I could just throw on any hat I want to. If I wanted to throw on a different hat for any other topic, I could do whatever I want, okay? If you ban me from the lid store, then maybe you can tell me what hat to wear. But anyway, I'm here for an update on obviously the most notorious Rolling 60 Crip in Los Angeles. Hell, could you even say the world at this point? I mean, Big U, as far as the streets goes, I don't think anybody's name was carrying as much weight as Big U. And unfortunately, it does seem like Big U is in trouble once again. Okay, if you've been following this channel, you will know that there has been a heartbreaking tragedy hitting the Henley family, and you know, Big U's son, Baby U, he did pass away. He unfortunately lost his life in a situation on Halloween night. And you know, a lot of my friends, people that I know that are involved or affiliated with them guys that wear this hat, you know what I mean? I ain't even trying to say too much, but a lot of people have been really upset and heartbroken. A lot of people that I care for, a lot of people that I love, they were hurt by the tragic passing of Baby Yui, man. So I'm going to just show you a quick clip that just kind of refreshes your memory on the situation, and then I'll tell you how the feds are allegedly doing Big U super dirty over this whole situation, man. It is kind of getting a little bit sad, but at the same time, unfortunately, it does seem like the feds are dealing pretty heavy consequences to Big U for what they're alleging that he was involved in. So let's just refresh our memories on the news.
New details on a shooting we first brought you yesterday morning. A man killed in South LA on Halloween night is the son of a former rap executive and alleged former gang leader.
34-year-old Jabari Henley is the son of Eugene Henley, better known as Big U. Eugene Henley once managed Nipsey Hussle and is alleged to be the former leader of the Rollin' 60s Crips gang. Police say Jabari was shot and killed near Figueroa and 69th Street after he walked up to a vehicle and someone inside opened fire before driving off. Police say his father's gang ties are a major part of the investigation.
It's a really sad situation, man, and just, you know, really, really tragic. Now, Baby Yui's brother did actually respond to this tragic news, and he kind of gave his opinion on the situation. Obviously, Diane Henley is, you know, Big U's other son, who actually plays professionally, plays NFL, you know, plays professional football. I think he is with the LA Chargers, which obviously is just a great testament to look, I'm not trying to infer anything negative by this, but like clearly Big U was doing some things right in fatherhood. Maybe he did some things wrong. Maybe he did some things wrong as far as how he managed his business. But if you got a son that's playing for the NFL, you got to be doing something right, okay? And he was apparently training Crenshaw High School when Crenshaw High, the football team there. Clearly he was doing something right, okay? And his other son, Diane, has spoken out. He said, 2025 brought me more pain than joy, and this one has been by far the biggest hit. My family going to stand through the storm because that's who we are. I'm going to make sure we're straight, big bro. I got nephew, don't even worry about it. I love y'all. Allah blessed me with one more night with my big brother, but I didn't know you'd be gone the next day. Forever Yui. Thank you for all the love and condolences. It truly means the world to me, fam. We are fighters, man. So, look, this is a really tragic situation. I know a lot of people just were devastated by hearing this news. Now, what's really messed up, really, there's not really any other way to say it, Big U's been requesting a day release from prison on these federal charges that he's been facing. Obviously, there's a murder that happened. You know, a young man, Rayshawn Williams, lost his life. And then there's the whole racketeering conspiracy that he was apparently embezzling money for developing options. He had a non-profit that was apparently profit for Big U. Right now, these are just allegations, obviously innocent until proven guilty. But at the same time, it looks bad. All right. You know, people get on my case. They say I pick and choose. But look, Big U, it looks bad. He's looking cooked. The evidence looking bad. If he can beat it, you know, hopefully he gets his fair day in court, but it does look very bad. And a lot of people that know the situation do feel like it looks really bad. But the news is that he's been requesting kind of day release so that he can go to his son's funeral. And the feds aren't playing ball, man. They're really not having it. He's basically seeking to leave prison to attend his slain son's funeral. Big U's eldest son, Jabari, was murdered in South Los Angeles on Halloween night, a day before his NFL star brother helped the Chargers to a win on the gridiron. So the imprisoned former 60 Crip leader, who's now charged with allegedly using his anti-violence nonprofit as a cover of a plethora of crimes, including murder, is asking a judge to allow him to attend the Islamic service for his slain son, who was shot dead on Halloween night. Now, people that know Islam and you know, people that practice the Muslim faith, they they deal with burials and funerals very quickly. I'm not the expert scholar in this. I couldn't tell you the exact reason why that is, but they move very quickly when it comes to having funerals. They want to do these things quickly, and obviously this is leaving Big U scrambling to try and get to the bottom of this, and try and be able to essentially request to be able to have temporary supervised release. The elder Henley's attorneys have filed a motion with the federal court to allow his temporary supervised release from pretrial detention so that he'll be able to take part in the mandatory Islamic religious rites for his recently murdered son. His lawyers told the judge that Henley's family are devout Muslims and that the spiritual rites for the dead in that faith are of the utmost importance for the family. The death of one's child represents an unparalleled human tragedy. The opportunity to attend and participate in the funeral rites is not merely a matter of personal preference, but a fundamental expression of human dignity recognized across cultures and legal systems. So his attorneys would write, to deny this narrow request would inflict an additional profound layer of suffering on a parent already enduring the unimaginable grief of burying their child by preventing them from fulfilling sacred religious obligations and participating in a final essential farewell. The court filing also provided new insights into the last night of Jabari Henley's life. He'd apparently been participating in a trick-or-treat event with his family and then had what the attorneys called a quiet dinner. Hours later, they wrote Henley was gunned down in a parking lot when assailants opened fire from a vehicle before fleeing, and nobody's been arrested. So he's basically put this request across, right? And they're saying that his attorneys quoted residents of Los Angeles who say they were helped by his nonprofit, calling Big U a man of faith, redemption, and social value. The attorneys also told the court they're willing to abide by any security restrictions imposed by a federal judge so that he can be released temporarily from custody. He said his movements will be strictly limited to a fixed itinerary between MDC Los Angeles and the ISOC Mortuary Mosque, departing at 8 a.m. and returning promptly after Salah al-Janaza. The attorneys promise in the filing, adding that their client will have no contact with any witnesses, co-defendants, or alleged victims during that period. And this is Operation Drawdown. Everybody that got busted down, man, and free my guy, Brick Baby, man. Free Brick Baby. He's been going through a lot recently. I spoke to him the other day, man. So this is going to kind of recap a lot of the stuff that we already knew. But the feds have essentially clapped back. And the feds have clapped back and they're not having it. Okay, I've got some of the paperwork that the feds actually put across, but here's just kind of like a summary article that gives a little bit of backstory. This was on allhiphop.com, just summing up the situation. They said that Big U, according to prosecutors, Big U is too dangerous to attend his own son's funeral. Said Big U asked the federal judge to let him out of jail long enough to wash and shroud his son's body after the janaza prayer. Basically, prosecutors say there's no way they can trust him outside the walls of the MDC Los Angeles. Their new filing argued that he's far too dangerous, too unpredictable, and already breaking so many jail rules that even a tightly controlled funeral release would actually put people at risk. Ultimately, Big U's release for any amount of time creates creates far too great a risk to justice in the case and to human life. The defendant should remain detained for the safety for the community and the victims and witnesses to his crimes. I used to be good at reading stuff. I don't know what's happened. I think maybe I need new glasses. So this kind of basically says that, he was planning to, have all the costs covered by his family. He was going to pay for him to basically have a fixed route between the detention center and the funeral, no contact with anyone, private security paid for by his family. But prosecutors responded by laying out months of alleged misconduct that had occurred behind bars. They said recorded calls showed hundreds of violations, including using other inmates' numbers so that they could call people that he didn't want the jail to track. They said that each call opened with the inmate speaking for voice verification before handing him the phone. Prosecutors then said he had people add third parties on encrypted apps and warned them to stick to those encrypted platforms. They also claimed that he used those calls to mostly reach his girlfriend, allegedly not his wife. According to prosecutors, the two talked about slipping illicit photos through the mail by hiding them in legal papers and continued having phone sex. They also said he coached her on signing up for one paralegal class so that she could pose as a legal visitor. Just one paralegal class, so that's all it takes apparently. So she could pose as a legal visitor and bypass visitation rules. The brief said he didn't even stop there. Prosecutors said that he discussed passing messages to co-defendants barred from contacting him, reaching a confidential informant, pushing a rule that no one should plead guilty unless he does, and spending large sums on investigators despite having court-appointed lawyers. Prosecutors argued Prosecutors argued that letting him out, even briefly, could expose witnesses, noting that he knows precisely who reported him. They said that courts rarely grant funeral leave in cases like this, and added that his unnamed private security team doesn't qualify as an appropriate person to supervise him under federal law. A private security team could have been made up of members of the 6-0 organization. Perhaps that is very unfortunate. Okay, it was officially denied by the judge. Okay, the judge wasn't having it. That was the prosecutors clapping back, and apparently the judge indeed denied this request. His application for temporary release to go to his son's funeral has been denied in court. In a hearing in a California federal court on Monday, Judge Fernando Anel Rocha officially prevented Big U from leaving prison while he awaits his trial for the RICO case. He was asking for the ability to attend, obviously, the funeral of his son. The judge offered an alternative that Henley be granted a private visitation with his deceased son and a remote video conference that would allow him to view the funeral service. It was not clear as of this writing whether Henley had accepted the offer. I'll keep it real. Obviously, it's not the result that he was looking for, but he is facing very serious charges. I think that's actually a generous offer, to be completely honest. They're offering him a private visitation with his deceased son. I assume, I think in previous reporting that I read, they were talking about he wanted to be able to attend the mortuary. Maybe there's a way that they can bring the body to the prison mortuary. I don't know how that works. It does sound like that's actually quite a reasonable offer, to be given a private visitation with his deceased son. As well as a remote video conference that would allow him to view the service. I don't know if they can bus bodies around before they're buried officially, but that is actually crazy. But his Islamic funeral is scheduled to take place on Friday, the 21st of November, so that's 2 days on from when I'm recording this video. The actual burial, which Big U didn't even request to attend, is happening the following day. Now, so there's some paperwork that's been going around. Okay, I'll keep it real. There's some paperwork that's been going around. And this basically this is just going to kind of recap everything that you've already just heard from these articles. But the wording, I think, is quite brutal. The way that the prosecutors kind of clapped back and wanted him to be denied this was actually quite damning. And I do feel like, obviously, it is innocent until proven guilty, but they're really being quite vindictive and basically kind of... The way that they're doing it does feel a little bit like they're trying to punish him for his crimes before he's been convicted of them. But at the same time, you are on trial for, serious RICO charges. There's a murder involved. I kind of get where they're coming from, but I also feel like maybe there was a little bit too much venom in this. It says, for a parent to have to bury their child is a tragedy that none should suffer. For a parent to miss that burial is yet another tragedy. Unfortunately, such is the case here. First, regardless of the circumstances, the factors set forth in the Bail Reform Act still apply. And here, defendant Eugene Henley Jr., also known as Big U, is charged with the murder of a young man who himself was buried by his parents, a funeral that defendant famously did not attend, despite knowing the victim his whole life, managing his music career, and paying for the trip that would be his last moments on Earth. Amid the other vast and sweeping allegations in this case, the Bail Reform Act continues to demand detention based on danger and risk of non-appearance. And then it basically goes on here to say, in order to fully assess the defendant's temporary leave request, the government obtained and reviewed defendant's phone communications in federal custody. These communications revealed a complete, if not wanton, disregard for the BOP rules, willful attempts to evade discovery of these violations, and continued attempts to obfuscate and hide his communications. For example, the defendant has utilized other inmates' BOP numbers and accounts to complete hundreds of calls in violation of BOP rules. In each of those calls, the inmate whose account defendant is using speaks first to verify their voice before handing the phone over to the defendant. In at least half of those hundreds of calls, defendant then has the person he's calling add a third person via an encrypted application. Defendant instructs those callers to only ever use encrypted applications for such three-way calls and to utilize only those same applications when discussing any of his business. Defendant also instructs the callers not to greet him with traditional Islamic phrases because it may alert BOP that he's using another inmate's accounts. Now, what is tough about this is that he probably thought he was getting away with this. He probably thought, I'm encrypting this, we're being slick, we're circumventing the rules, like, we got this down pat. And unfortunately, that was not the case. They basically go on to kind of explain that, he was using these calls not just to, do street business or just pass the time, but apparently he was getting busy, talking to his girlfriend, having phone sex, planning to release nudes. You've already heard about that, but the wording I think is interesting. It says the content of those calls itself are a violation of BOP policy, as the majority of the calls using other inmates' numbers are to an individual identified that defendant referred to as his girlfriend in those calls. Big U discusses how to thwart the mail policies so he can get illicit photos of her while incarcerated, as well as hiding those photos in legal folders while simultaneously engaging in phone sex. Defendant and his girlfriend have also developed a scheme in which the girlfriend will sign up for a single paralegal class so she can visit him in custody, subverting the MDC rules that only allow for immediate family or legal visits. Defendant also discussed sending messages to his co-defendants who are on pretrial supervision with orders not to contact them co-defendants. A desire to enforce a rule that no one in the case should be allowed to plead guilty unless the defendant does. I guess we call that the young thug and gunner rule now. And getting in touch with a confidential informant or snitch, according to the defendant in this case. That's crazy. So they're basically saying that he has actually got in touch with an informant on the case. He's contacted them. Hiring and paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for a team of lawyers, investigators, and paralegals, despite his current retainment of 2 CJA-funded attorneys and other wide-coded communications. So they're basically trying to say, look, you're talking about you're going to defend yourself, you're getting a state defender. Meanwhile, you're somehow spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on investigators and trying to get to the bottom of this situation. And you low-key, you're breaking all the rules, and just what you're saying is going on isn't really what's going on. Now, that's crazy. Now, one person who did have a lot to say about this, I'm not condoning these statements, but, okay, this is really Big U's biggest op right now on the internet. Christopher Lovejoy, man, Mr. 600. He had a lot to say. He was dissing. I can't confirm or deny any of the stuff he says, but he really was going hard at Big U, okay? He was basically reposting that paperwork that we've just seen and dissing Big U. It says, the feds say, F your son's funeral. You're here for a murder of a kid who lived with you and you didn't even go to his funeral. Sit your dumb ass down, boy. That's what he's saying. I'm not saying that, but that's what he's saying. It says, the feds filed to deny Big U of going to his son's funeral. One reason is because of the murder of Ray Sean that he's in jail for. Big U didn't even go to his funeral. The next clip we're going to show the paperwork where it says you were getting naked pictures from other women while you were in the feds. Aren't you married? Bruh. He said, man, go sit your dumb ass down. What the F you doing? You didn't know they record everything? Man, just tell the truth. We know you didn't pull the trigger, man. Lol. And he said, Big U, a.k.a. Big Dummy, is effed off seeing his son because he wants to do his thing to a woman he's never going to see. They're saying, dude having phone sex. So he's 600 is savaging him.
I'm on Skid Row.
This is a separate thing. Shout out to him, though, for doing something positive. He was laughing and blowing his nose and celebrating when Big U was officially denied. This is the official paperwork. And, you know, it does say that it was denied there. He said, it used to be stay safe. Now it's dangerous. Long live Nipsey Hussle. And then again, he's just done another post. He says, they say that Big U was at the phone in front of the hallway in front of everybody, playing with himself, standing up, whispering, ain't no cell phones. I'm fed MDCLA. He said, that's embarrassing. He ain't even hit the pen yet. Don't let him leak the tapes. Now, look, I can't condone for what 600's saying, but I watched a video that Eddie Nash did on this situation, and he basically said, look, he can't comment on the situation, but essentially he understands why 600 and Big U are having this beef, you know, and they've been going at it for quite some time. There's been a lot of disrespect on both sides. I covered it in a whole documentary that I did on my channel, and yeah, it's gotten incredibly personal and incredibly disrespectful. Now, I am still interested to hear more information about this Big U case. We did just see from some of 600's reporting, he was saying that he's saying, and I've heard from other people saying Big U didn't actually do this murder. I don't know much more than that, but he just said, you know, say you didn't do it. Maybe you didn't do it. Okay, so he might actually be able to beat this. Maybe he beat the murder charge. Maybe he won't beat the kind of corruption charges that he's facing. But really, this is a tough day for Big U, and I can't imagine what he's going through. No matter what he's been accused of, he hasn't been convicted of that yet. And for him to miss his son's funeral is definitely tough. I do feel like the state actually offering him the opportunity to have a special supervised visit with his son, who's obviously passed away, but I don't know how that works. Don't know the logistics of that. Maybe they arranged for him to have a private viewing with his son. I don't know if that fulfills the kind of terms of the Islamic faith that he's trying to fulfill. Hopefully it does, and hopefully that they can maybe meet somewhere in the middle, and this isn't really about trying to control or get out or do maybe this really is just about having that send-off for his son that he feels like fulfills his obligations as a father who follows Islam. So I really hope that they can make something happen. I feel like if he takes that offer and that kind of at least gets him a little bit closer to where he wants to be spiritually, that's a good thing, man. But yeah, look, I'll be keeping you guys updated. Anything to do with this Big U situation, I'll keep you guys informed, man. It's a crazy situation. And yeah, we're going to have to just wait and see. But yep, hopefully within a few months, we might have some more information and some more concrete information about actually how this trial's going to go down. Oh, I'm tired. Sorry, it's been a long day, guys. But I appreciate you guys watching this update. I will be back with even more updates. I've got like 6 videos that I want to film. I'm gonna just go back to back to back. I don't even know if I'm gonna get them all done tonight. I'm about to have some food, and I'm just gonna get back to the desk and keep going with these videos. So I'll catch you in the next one, man. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.